is it?
You're locked into the Flagship, an Ole Miss podcast powered by College Corner.
Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Get your daily Rebel sports fix at the Ole Miss Spirit, omspirit.com.
Welcome into this Week 13 edition of the Flagship. I am your host, Zach Berry. This is Hit That Line edition, coming to you as the Rebels are now the number 9 team in the country. And in honor of that, I'm just going to, little 6 milligrams. So if you turn the 6 upside down to 9, that's what Ole Miss is now ranked in the college football playoff. We're going to get into the rankings. I think collectively we were all pretty shocked. Thought Ole Miss would be in the playoff, but didn't think that they would be at 9. Before we get into that, do want to remind you, as always, the show is brought to you by our good friends at College Corner. 3 locations: Oxford, Ridgeland, Flowood. Go check them out. Brick and mortar. If you can't, go to collegecornerstore.com. Christmas right around the corner. So hit them up for all of your shopping needs. We are also brought to you by our good buddy Drew Moak of USA Benefits Group. It's Medicare enrollment season. I did mine last week. If you are still looking to do yours and you need someone that is reliable and knows what they are doing and works their tail off around the clock, that is Drew Moak, 601-953-8449, or check out the website quoteswithdrew.com. All right, let's go ahead and bring in the Legal Gambling Council. The fellas are all here. Gentlemen, welcome to Week 13.
It feels good to be a Rebel.
Got everybody all at once.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm so overwhelmed still, man. Man, when I turned the show on, I think it was pick 10 or whoever was ranked 10th, and it wasn't Ole Miss. I mean, when I realized we were going to be 9, man, I don't know. It felt like we would beat Georgia all over again.
I was surprised they got it right. I mean, that's what I'll say for it. I think they nailed it. I fully expected Georgia to jump us, and I thought we would be sweating where Tennessee fell in the pecking order. I did not expect them to nail it, at least vis-a-vis us. With respect to us, I still think Texas is too high, Penn State's too high, Notre Dame's too high, Indiana.
Texas is crazy high, man. I can't fault them for Indiana. They're unbeaten. At some point, being unbeaten is cool, but man, Texas is high.
Did you see the graphic that was going around Twitter of Texas, and it says key wins, and it says Arkansas and Vandy?
At Arkansas?
Yep.
I mean, if all you got to do is win at Arkansas, we're in good shape.
By the way, they didn't cover either of those games. They won, sure, but they didn't cover either game.
What are they? I'm curious what they are against the spread.
They may not cover this week.
I bet they're 3-6. I don't think they covered against State.
They did not cover against State.
They didn't cover against
Georgia. Well, there's 4 right there. We've already counted.
4 SEC games they haven't covered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are we 8-2?
We
covered every game.
They did cover Florida because Florida's on the 3rd string quarterback.
But LSU,
we've covered
every win.
We've covered every win.
Oklahoma.
Yeah,
we did cover Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Pretty good though.
7-3. Yeah.
I mean, we've been really. It hasn't even been all that close. We've covered. If you upped every spread by 7, we might still be 7-3.
Probably one of the more hilarious reverse line movements of the year was on game day at South Carolina.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Nick and I were at the tailgate right outside the stadium, and Nick's like, "Why is it single digits?" And I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah, I mean, that game could have been 30.
It should have been. Juice fumbled on the 1 yard line.
That's true.
Yeah. Should have been 30.
Think about the points that Ole Miss has left on the board. Ole Miss, let's do shoulda, woulda, coulda. Nobody likes that, but let's do it. Okay. LSU, what should it have been at halftime? 30-10, 30-3, 30-7.
What was it?
17-7 or 7?
It was 17-10.
17-10. Yeah.
It should have been 24-7 because
we conservatively left 13.
Didn't get it.
Yeah, we conservatively left 13 out there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
so
two
that's
field goals
30.
and Trey Harris the touchdown, long touchdown.
Yeah, that's 30 right there. And then you do the Georgia game. If you get 7 instead of 3 on those last 2 drives, what do you add? 8 points. So what's that? 36 to 10.
And you give Georgia a short field. They never once drove down the field and scored a touchdown the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we can leave Kentucky out of it because that's truly just an F minus
Well, no,
performance.
I mean, we had a red zone fumble against Kentucky.
We
though.
did.
The Kentucky game,
best player.
I've moved on from it at this point, but my God, the stuff that had to happen for Kentucky to win it. I mean, people don't talk enough about the forced fumble, and it just bounces right to the guy. Is that right there? We recapped it after it happened. Ole Miss recovers it, maybe 1 or 2 first downs, game's over. So
that's right.
So one thing that's been lost from those games to now is it feels like we haven't been penalized at all in the last 2 or 3 weeks since the Oklahoma game, particularly on offense. Back the LSU and Kentucky games, man, especially Kentucky, so many penalties, extended drives for them, gave them first downs. It wasn't just penalties like a first down hold or a first down pass interference. It'd be 3rd and 18. They'd get 25 yards on a pass interference call. And then
I made that joke where I was like, Ole Miss fans, you're watching the defense get a stop on 3rd down, then you're immediately scanning the field for laundry.
Oh,
No
every
shit.
time, man.
Yeah.
The I just lost my train of thought. Going back to Texas, I feel like Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Indiana are all in the same boat, where it's one more and you're cooked. Especially Texas, because they've already got 1 loss and they have a terrible resume. Penn State's the same way. I don't think it matters how Indiana loses. If Indiana loses, it's done. In my opinion.
I don't know.
They're dropping below us.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're dropping out.
You don't think so?
Let's say. Well, I mean, just tell me how does it play out? Do they lose on a last-second field goal in regulation?
They don't cover. It's 10 plus.
And not to be pedantic about it, but do they score a late TD to backdoor a cover, or is this like a wire to wire? They're in it the entire game.
I can't give you that. You know what I'm saying? I don't.
I just think that matters. Like if the committee's watching and Ohio State's winning by 21 the entire game, and then Indiana scores with a minute left and goes for 2, and suddenly it's a cover. That's not the same as.
Well, let's look at historically. I say historically, the last 2 weeks when teams have lost. Georgia got beat badly, so they dropped 10 spots, or more. Tennessee, they didn't get hammered by Georgia. I mean, they lost by 2 touchdowns, and they fell from 6 to out of it.
Pretty punitive, yeah.
So
5. I think 5 to 12.
You would think that Indiana would fall out of it.
Numerically, Tennessee wasn't hammered, but that game was never close.
Correct. But, I mean, that could be a similar result as Ohio State, Indiana. Now, if Indiana goes up there and gets beat by 3, I don't think they should get penalized at all. I think you stay where you are. But if they go up there and the committee's just not done that yet. They don't have we don't have a time where they're like, you know what, that was just a good loss. We're going to keep you where you are.
Well, you're right, because they weren't ranking teams at the time, but both Penn State and Ohio State's losses have not been penalized really at all. But they were close losses. I mean, Ohio State lost by 3 out there, and then Penn State lost by a touchdown or whatever it was. It was close both games, but close. We weren't ranking at the time, so it's hard to know. I don't. My worry a little bit is that Ben, I think you say this a lot of times in big games, teams come out conservatively. I could see Ohio State coming out, and they're better than Indiana, and they're going to beat them by 10 or 13 points, but it's sort of close in the middle of the 3rd quarter, and that's enough for them to be like, yeah, it's pretty good, even if they lose. Also,
if you're Ohio State or anybody else in the playoff for that matter, and I don't think that they'll do this, because it's just too hard to control. I'm going to accuse them of shaving points, but I'm not. Right? You would
Right.
rather Indiana be in the playoff as Tennessee.
Yeah, if you're Ohio State, you don't have any
Hey,
reason to go like balls to the wall in the fourth
No,
quarter.
you would rather
and,
them.
and
Yes.
and the Big Ten refs don't either. Like the Big Ten refs, this might be a keep it close for the conference kind of deal. I mean, I
It
know
might be.
we
I
like to
mean,
think stuff like that doesn't happen, but these dudes are people. They often went to school in these states or neighboring states. Like,
yep.
I'm not saying they're going to fix the game, but I'm saying a timely flag here or there, the benefit of the doubt. I don't know.
Yeah. In a questionable call, it's going to go
Mhm.
the way that it needs to, and all right, maybe that's not going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, and it may not. It may not. And look, Ohio State may be so good that nobody can narrow the gap. Where like
Mhm.
not even 10 holding penalties will narrow the margin.
But we know that
Such
that's
that
not true. I mean, they barely beat Nebraska.
yeah, yeah. I'll say this too. Did y'all see today Ohio State's center done torn
Yeah.
Achilles?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
Alabama transfer. That's big, man. They're really banged up on the offensive line. Like really banged up. Like if they had to see the Rebs this week on the defensive line, it would be they would have problems.
I think, and we'll get into this game after let's pause on Ohio State. Let's get into Florida, and then we'll jump into talking about everybody else. I mean, do we have any other final thoughts on the ranking? I mean, I thought 9 at this rate. I mean, I think Ole Miss wins out. I don't think it matters what the scores are. I think Ole Miss is in. The Georgia win is obviously a huge feather in the cap per the committee. And
The way Ole Miss beat Georgia. We talked about this
Yeah.
a few weeks
Right.
ago. If we kill Georgia, and that's essentially what Ole Miss did, if we soundly beat them, then you don't really have to worry about – because if Ole Miss just – let's say we won on the last second field goal. Are we 9th or are we 11th?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think it'd be much closer than we would prefer. By the
Right.
way, it's not just a Georgia ass whipping. People are starting to finally take note of the fact that we destroyed South Carolina on the road there.
Mhm. Mhm.
A South Carolina team that may be 9-3 when it's all said and
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I mean, their fans
Yeah.
wanted to see them higher ranked to potentially be a 3-loss team in the playoff.
Mhm.
I thought it was a more than fair ranking. I was not. It was higher than that. And I'll tell y'all. I told y'all this other day. If I were an odds maker, I'd put the odds at better than even. So let's say minus 200 that Ole Miss hosts a playoff game because too many teams ahead of Ole Miss play each other. Like, and if they penalize people at all for a loss in a conference championship, so let's say Texas and Alabama play, and one of them lose a conference championship. I'm not saying they have to fall out of it. All they have to do is fall a couple spots. Indiana loses to Ohio State. If they fall 2 spots, Notre Dame loses to USC. There's a lot of games that still have to be played. Penn State at Minnesota, where I could see. I mean, Ole Miss. What are we 10th in the seeding? All they have to
Like
do
2
is
spots.
move. Yeah, they need to move 2 spots. That's it.
So what happens if, let's say, Texas wins by 3 on the road at A&M? Oh, hold on, let's do this. A&M loses this weekend. All right.
Yeah,
Texas wins by 3,
yeah.
squeaks by, and then Bama beats them by 14 in the SEC championship game.
They're not falling. I mean, haven't they already
We would be
implied?
ahead of Texas.
Maybe we're ahead of them. I don't think they're dropping out of. To me, the big cut line, if you're in a conference championship game, is falling from 8 to 9, like past the 9 seed, past the 8 seed. I just don't
Difference
see
between
it.
hosting or
Yeah, that's like the big one. Now I could see if maybe Texas goes from like the 5 seed to the 8 seed, but I don't. They're not going to penalize teams, man. They've already kind of said that they're not going to.
They
They're not
don't
going to
have a
penalize.
win. They don't have a good
They're not
win.
going to penalize the 2
They
big
still wouldn't have a good
conferences.
win though. They would
No,
still
I
not.
agree. I agree.
Like
But
I
just
think
don't.
that they would fall into. I think you make the playoff, but I would. I mean, just 5. That's it. I don't know for a 2 touchdown loss.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It would be hard to say like, hey, because you played the extra game, we're gonna make you go on the road now over Ole Miss and Georgia, who didn't have to play. I mean, their
I
schedule is
get that.
insanely easy, but still.
I am sympathetic to that, and that's why I think Texas is like an edge case. Like I think they're a unique case because if say Georgia or Ole Miss were to lose by 10 or 14 in the SEC championship game, it would be really punitive to say, nope, you went from hosting to now you're barely in or whatever. Now you go on the road to Penn State. I just think with Texas though, like they've got to prove something at some point. They've got to make their case. They've yet to make their case. Like I don't know. Maybe
they'll have
wishful
played.
thinking.
I sent y'all the graphic yesterday. They'll have played 6 of the bottom 7 teams in the SEC when all is said and done.
Yeah.
Like they've played 5 of the bottom 7, and then they play Kentucky this weekend, who's the second worst team in the SEC. They played State, Florida, Kentucky,
Vanderbilt.
I mean, it's on and on. Like they haven't played any
Florida.
team that's ranked, obviously. And then the only team they played that was above 500 in SEC play was Georgia. They lost.
And their non-con was soft. And I know that that's not their fault with Michigan. It's not their fault that Michigan turned out to be bad. But the rest of their non-cons, like Colorado State, UL Monroe, like, come on.
And speaking on non-cons, I kind of hope that didn't Indiana have a game against a P5? I can't remember who it was. And it was like UCF or something. They bought it out, and then they added Western Kentucky. I think that might hurt them in terms of.
Yeah.
But I know they bought them out. They had a P5 team on the schedule. They bought the team out before the season, or maybe 18 months ago, and added Western Kentucky to their schedule. So they played 9 Big Ten games and 3 cupcakes. That's going to hurt them when it comes to seeding. That's why I think.
Go ahead.
No, that's why I think short of like 1 touchdown, even if it's a backdoor, Ohio State ends up winning by 10. Even still, I think they're dropping down below us to like 9 or 10.
Look, as SEC guys, I know we're like supposed to be outraged about Indiana and Penn State and Notre Dame. I'll say this. I would rather everything just held exactly as it is than have them fall if we are not going to host. Because give me a road trip to Bloomington. Like, what better draw could we have? I'm kind of cool with exactly where they are.
We would suffocate them.
I've heard Bloomington is kind of cool.
I've actually heard Bloomington is like one of the better Big Ten towns. It's a little southern in terms of like it's not quite up in Pennsylvania. It's in sort of southern-ish Indiana.
Better.
It's only 8 hours from Oxford. It'd be a tough ticket, man. Like no joke. Yeah. It's only 4.5 hours from Nashville.
And what does it seat? Like 40,000 people? 45,000?
I think it's right at 50. I mean, it's small.
So what's the allotment? Is it they only have to allot 3,500? Is that right?
Yeah, 3,500. And you can only put them in 2 blocks. I do know that. I saw that. So
before we get to Florida, I do agree. Or I am conflicted. Y'all make good points on the conference championship outcome, but what I was going to say was Texas and Indiana, they're almost identical here, right? Like they play the bottom feeders of both of their conferences. Texas gets 1 shot at the best or second best team in the conference. Same for Indiana. Texas gets blown out, yet they're still in the top 4.
And both buoyed by a win over shitty Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, if 53. Look, if we're not going to host, that's fine. Let's go to Indiana.
You couldn't ask for a better dream, man.
Ben, we talked about this a couple years ago. And Nick, we might have talked about it in Columbia this year, but the high of walking in someone's trap and then taking over said trap is pretty good. Nick, you're going to get to experience it this weekend. The win on the road, and I mean, a playoff game would just be even cooler, but that's fun. Like winning at home, obviously cool for fans. And I do think Ole Miss deserves a night home game. And I'm not even saying that as like a bit. Like, I think this team deserves a night home game and a night playoff game. But yeah, going to Bloomington would be fun.
I have allowed myself to wander in the last couple of weeks about how ridiculously cool it would be to win a playoff game at Happy Valley, though. Like, to go up
Or Notre
there,
Dame, South Bend.
109,000. Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame would be cool, but I think the whiteout would be because they're going to do a whiteout. They're going to get the home game. Would be next level. My only concern about that concern, I guess, if we're in the playoff, I don't have many concerns, but my only concern is it's going to be the Indiana's going to get that Friday game or the 11 o'clock kick, but more like that. People really forget that there's a Friday kick. That stinks. Like, and I'm hopeful that if we host, Lord willing, we don't get Friday kickoff, and it would still feel the same in the stadium, but that is a bummer.
Is that a TNT game, or are they only on Saturday?
I think.
Do not know.
I think that I don't know that that's been announced. Actually, that's a good question.
Let me look it up.
CFP.
The one thing about going to Beaver Stadium is that I've been told by other media members, it is an absolute bitch to get there.
Yeah, it's the Friday night game's ABC, by the way. So
yeah, so Friday ABC, ESPN, Saturday noon TNT, Saturday 4 p.m. Eastern TNT, and then the night game is ABC.
Dude, give me Friday night, dude.
Just an aside, we don't have to get too far into this. Obviously, this is the weeds here, but I do know that Penn State pretty much put their foot down and were like, we can't get all these people into Happy Valley on a Friday. We're just like, I mean, I get they don't really have a say, but they pretty much said we're not playing on Friday night. Like, we can't accommodate it at this small town.
Yeah,
so
that's their call for sure.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean,
we
need to tell them that we can't play in the daytime. Like, Oxford can't accommodate a day game.
Too high.
Who's the head of the CFP committee, though? Is he a Michigan guy?
Yeah, a Michigan man.
Yeah, he's a Michigan.
All the more reason to not give Penn State what they want.
I think I remember
they love each other in the Big Ten, though.
I think I remember Chris Felica talking about you have to fly into
Harrisburg, I think.
Harrisburg is about 90 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say it's like over an hour drive after that.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Just give me Indiana. That would be.
Yeah, I mean, that would just be fun anyway, just because they've just been the darling. So Ole Miss could go up there and just whip ass. And
I truly, maybe this is just super confident of me. I just don't think we could lose to Indiana. I don't think we could.
No,
I think we could lose to Penn State. I think we could lose to obviously Ohio State.
And unless we roll out an egg, which we're not going to, like we did against Kentucky, guys. I mean, I would pick us to win it all right now.
The Ole Miss Indiana would, as our guy Roddy Jones would say, you count the pros.
Yep.
How many pros are on this sideline? How many pros are on that side?
And I'm not being funny about that. Like, who's going to bet our front seven? We are so far ahead of everybody in TFLs and sacks at this point that it's becoming comical, and we're finally healthy. I think Kiffin said today, this is the healthiest we've been ever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not the only one saying that, Ben.
Oh, no. I'm not. I mean, it sounds like a homer. I'm a huge Ole Miss fan, of course, but I'm being serious. If we kick off short of it being Saturday night in Bryant Denny, and maybe the shoe, are y'all worried? Are you thinking, oh man, we're going to lose this one? No. And the reason I'm thinking, the reason I say Alabama is not because of Alabama, it's because of the X factor that Milroe may have in terms of extending plays.
For sure. Yeah. He's a problem. I mean, he keeps plays alive. He can get 8-9 yards when they need it.
But if we hosted Tennessee, I would be comfortable laying 8.5 right now.
Oh my God, Tennessee wouldn't score against us.
No, that's what I'm saying. They're one-dimensional.
I didn't realize how bad Nico's stats were. Even adding in non-conference stats. So does he have 12 or 14 touchdowns?
Yeah. They're not scoring on us. I'm just telling you.
No. There's Oregon, Alabama, Ohio State. Those are the three teams I'd be like, we're going to have to play really, really, really good. Maybe Penn State just because their style play similar to Kentucky and keeping the ball from us. Everybody else, if we played Texas, Tennessee, you name it, Indiana, Notre Dame, those games are those are double-digit wins right now.
You also like, I mean, Penn State and Tennessee are very similar in my opinion with like the offensive struggles. Tennessee, all you got to do is stop Samson.
So the run game, yeah.
And then you just pin your ears back. Penn State, all you got to do is stop a tight end.
He's good, but I agree with you.
They got the running backs that are good, like Singleton's good, but like they haven't been able to really run the football.
Well, we've already seen Penn State. We know what they have.
Yeah. And they're not as good. I don't think they're as good as they were last year. They don't have the NFL left tackle anymore.
Didn't both of their backs play?
Yeah.
In the bowl game?
Yeah.
One of them got hurt in like the first or second quarter.
Number 10 played. With the one that looks like a bowling ball.
Abdul Carter got hurt and then came out. But everybody else, I think they had a corner that opted out and the left tackle.
Abdul Carter is a stud.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question.
He's a monster. But all right.
We can go to Florida.
The first things first. Segue, Zach.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 25 minutes on the playoff. Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much across the board. I don't think you can find an Ole Miss fan that's not pleased with where Ole Miss is right now. All right, Florida. I think this is the perfect letdown spot for Florida. Twofold. Huge rivalry win at home at night over LSU, big time. Now you get top 10 team, 11 a.m., and that top 10 team is coming off a bye. I don't think that this is where Ole Miss drops the ball. I think this team is laser focused. I know that Jackson Dart's going on Andy and Ari, and I talked to Andy, and he said that he was really, really good. It seems like this team is locked in. They got the wake up call. I think that's pretty clear. And now you just got 2 games. I mean, it's really honestly like it's really 1 game because the Egg Bowl is name your score.
I'll tell y'all how I feel about this game. Lock me in, lay whatever number that it is. Florida's got the worst defense in the league outside of Mississippi State. Like they are 15th in almost every category on defense. You know, they played well against LSU, I guess, but keep in mind, it was a great – we kind of called that. You want to play LSU after they've quit. LSU has quit. Don't –
Brian Kelly's yelling.
That was not the LSU team that still had playoff aspirations that played Ole Miss at home at night that we still should have won by, 2 touchdowns. And this is me saying this as an Ole Miss fan. I've watched us go be in spots like this and lay an egg. I don't think that this team is like that. I don't think this staff is like that. And those teams in the past maybe were not quite as good as we thought and caught a couple breaks to win a big game. And then the truth really came out over the course of the season. Whereas this team, guys, we're third in the country in time that we've trailed in a game behind Army and whoever else that's undefeated, maybe Indiana. I can't remember. So, like, we've barely even trailed in a game. So I don't think there's any way that we don't cover this line. Now, do I think we're going to go down there and blow them out? No. But I do think that the score could be somewhere around the 30-13 range. I think but it's not going to feel that close.
Yeah, the matchup is great for Ole Miss across the board. Like Ben said, defensively, Florida's bad at every level.
Yeah, they're bad. They're bad.
Down, through the air. They're in the hundreds and giving up explosive plays.
By the way, we're second in the country in explosive plays on offense.
Yeah, it's just a go out, handle business SEC road win. If you want to be a top 10 program, this is the road win that you just go out and methodically dominate. I mean, it's it's like a 36-13 win.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Get in, get out, 9-2. I don't see how Lagway's not 100%. Florida has struggled to protect him all year. Florida's best offensive lineman, Damian George, has been banged up pretty much every week of the season. And Elijah Badger's a solid wide receiver, but it's not like they wow you with any of their playmakers on the outside. I think the front seven for Ole Miss is going to get after Lagway. I text y'all this week. I would be shocked if it gets to 14, 17, nothing, and Lagway is just running for his life. I would not be shocked if Napier pulls him and puts the Yale kid in, puts in Aiden Warner to just save him for Florida State.
I don't know if he'll. I mean, he may be right. If he doesn't do that, he may just turn around and hand the ball off 40 times and get out of there.
Yeah.
Like they got bigger. They got a bowl season to play for and a rivalry game the following week. Something I think we all overlooked last week, Florida LSU. People who know say Napier was a little pissed about not even being considered for the LSU vacancy when he was at Lafayette. You know, I think that had a lot to do with their game plan last week. And I say that I think it's relevant for this week because, as Zach mentioned at the outset here, I don't think they can do this. They can't do that 2 weeks in a row. Like, I don't know that they shot their wide, but they were pretty damn close last week. Like, they emptied the clip. They had some really unique run sets, plays that they haven't run all season. Their defensive line was pinning their ears back. I mean, they didn't respect LSU's run game at all. By the way, this is not the same LSU team that we faced earlier in the year. Not only were they post-Bama loss, they had an interior offensive lineman go down, and they're playing like scrubs at guard right now. And it showed. They gave up, 6 sacks to Florida? I just think that LSU team is a shell of itself. I do think we do this often on the show where we compare numbers. I'm not going to lock in the reps because I don't want to jinx us. But if LSU was, what did they close? -3 in there last week? -3, -3.5 at Florida?
Yeah, I think that's right. Three.
All right. So you give Florida probably 3 for home field at night in the swamp, 3.5. So that's saying LSU is 7 on a neutral against Florida. We're 10 right now. Give them 2 for a daytime kick. So we're 12 on a neutral against Florida. You're telling me we're only -5 against LSU on a neutral? Nope.
No.
That's not right.
No,
That's not right.
If we play
Not
LSU
now.
again, that'd be 42-7.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this version of LSU and this version of Ole Miss, we are much better than 5 against them on a neutral. I think we hammer Florida. I think it's like 38-10. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I think, like Zach said, I think they're going to be once they get hit in the face and punched in the nose. Quit's going to be putting it too strongly, but I think they're going to have higher priorities and just realize, look, today's not our day. Let's get out of here healthy. Let's go beat this shit out of Florida State next week.
Yeah. Get bowl eligible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Over Florida State. Yeah. I mean, Austin, I was going to say, you said that they may not have just blown it all last week. I don't know if they have any bullets left. I think they're going to need to get back to homeostasis in this one and just take your lumps and then get ready for FSU. I don't think you can get them up again. If it was another night game, I'm not saying Florida would upset Ole Miss, but it would be a little spunky early. 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And I've heard all week about, they've been packing the swamp in. Like, it'll probably be a good crowd, but I don't think it's going to be just a dead sellout at 11 a.m.
Look, I expect it to be a good crowd. I think it'll be a lot like Columbia. When we were on the road at Columbia, I think it'll be a lot like that. And then when we go up 14-0, everybody's going to be sitting on their hands.
And look, I'll say this. I've never been in these environments, but just from talking to players and then just being in those environments as a fan, I feel like as a player, you want the big crowd at 11 a.m.
Especially veteran players.
You need the energy.
I think veteran players feed off of it, man. I think freshmen, it's a little different. You could kind of melt in those situations. I think guys like Walter Nolan, and by the way, we haven't even mentioned it yet. Princely going back to the swamp.
Dude.
You think Princely's gonna melt? Come on.
Talk about burying the lead.
Yeah. Like, do you think Piggies is going to be like, shit, it's loud. I guess let's quit, right? Let's go back to Oxford.
Well, see,
it's not going to happen.
The funny thing about Princely is all year he's been hyping up his boys.
Mm-hmm.
Like Florida does something, like he's on Twitter, like he's congratulating them, he's supporting them. But on Saturday, he is going he's going for scalps because their fans have not been nice. And you know that it's a personal thing for him, but
you're generally more competitive with your friends anyway, right? And so
And
you
look,
don't
last point for me, the only comparable defensive lines to ours that Florida has played this year, arguably Georgia, and they were okay. They held their own. Texas A&M absolutely killed them at the line of scrimmage. Miami absolutely killed them at the line of scrimmage. Texas absolutely killed them at the line of scrimmage. I don't know what they can do to fix that going against maybe the toughest defensive line they've seen all season. I think we suffocate them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to add anything there. I think, first of all, I think it's good that they beat LSU. I mean, I've said this to you guys, but like, how many posts can we get on the message boards that are like trap game? And I'm like, it's not a trap game. This is the game before, you play the final game to go to the play. Like trap. What are we talking about? Trap. What kind of trap? What kind of traps are we walking into? What are we looking for?
We literally have to win to make the playoff. Like, how is that a trap game?
Yeah, and also like you're going to be like 25-point favorites in a week. There's no like look ahead spot here, and we didn't just come off a big win. We had a bye week. I mean, we came off a big win 2 weeks ago. I just don't see it, and I think if you go back and look at Florida's schedule, like now they play good teams. Obviously, they weren't great against UCF. They really weren't great in Starkville. Before that, they lost to A&M. Since then, they've lost to Tennessee. They whipped Kentucky. They lost to Georgia. They lost to Texas. I just looking at the schedule, other than the LSU game last week, I just really see a lot that they've done. And Austin, you couldn't be more right. I don't want to lock the game in because I'm afraid I'm going to jinx it. The only way I don't think that we win 30-something to teen something is if we fumble the ball to the back of the end zone like we did in South Carolina. We kick a bunch of field goals like we did at South Carolina and in Georgia. I don't think this one's going to be close, man. I really don't. I could see Kiffin has like a tendency sometimes to kind of throw, maybe not necessarily neutral, but definitely take his foot off the gas when he knows he's got the game in hand. I think he'll get far enough ahead like he did in Columbia. But, I mean, their defense, I watched some in that MSU game. MSU couldn't stop scoring on them, and MSU's offense is still, like, good according to MSU fans and 79th in the country according to the advanced metrics. Like, it's not actually very good. And Florida can't really stop anybody, man. I mean, they got murdered. It's a Texas team that all we ever talk about is how good Texas isn't. And I think it was 42-7 at one point. I mean, they destroyed them. This game's going to be 11 o'clock. It'll be full. Tickets are like $60 to get in. There probably will come down between now and then. I mean, it's not like a hard sellout. I'm sure they'll be giving Princely, the business before the game, but I just think we're going to go up early. They're not going to do a ton. I mean, I think they gave up 80. LSU ran 87 plays last week against Florida. I think that defense is going to be gassed.
You want to talk about a box score aberration? You can't, if you go through the box score of that game last week against LSU, nothing makes sense from that. LSU doubled them up on time of possession at like
41-18.
Okay, LSU possessed the 41-18 and lost by double digits.
Yeah.
Again, if Florida fans think they're replicating that, good fucking luck.
Yeah. If they lose the ball 19 minutes, maybe we lose, but that's not going to happen.
Nick, I think we score 30-something to teen something with the field goals. Like if we don't stall out with field goals, I think it's like 40-something to teen.
I think it could be. I really do. I think the team's locked in, and I think there is something to. We went back to Arkansas. Pooh Paul, he really didn't have. I mean, I don't think he had a ton bad to say about Arkansas. I mean, like it seemed like his dad was pretty complimentary of Arkansas on Twitter. I don't think there's a ton of bad blood, but he wants to beat those guys. We went up there, and what did we do? We didn't stop scoring. I mean, we're still scoring. Jordan Watkins pulled a hamstring running in the end zone. That's how many times he scored. And I think we're doing the same thing at Florida. I just think like Those are two of your leaders on the defense. And I think the defensive players want to go back to Florida for Princely and play well. I really don't think that that's like I'm overdoing that. I really think it matters to the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, look at like former players going back to old homes. Juice Wells.
Juice Wells.
Great. Yeah. They dominated. Go back a couple years ago, Jared Ivey, when they went to Georgia Tech, destroyed them.
Yeah.
Malik Heath played great against Mississippi State. Like that's a great point where you said like the guys want to play well for that guy. Before I rattle off these numbers, I have to note Nick saying it's not a trap game, and that was the most like dad, like you idiot voice. Like
all week we've heard it's a trap game.
It's also not a trap because they just beat a ranked team. Like you're not overlooking the team that just beat a ranked team. Like it would be a trap if like they lost by 7. Yeah.
A trap game would be if they just played Texas last week and they lost 49-17. You're like, dude, this team is trash. But it's evident we just heard all week. Logaway's coming along, man. Look at the deep ball. I can't imagine that. Looking at those numbers from last week, they had 339 yards. I realized they only ran like 47 plays. They had one guy, receiver, that had like 130. I'm going to assume that Amos is on him. I'm going to assume he doesn't also go for 130 this week. Then I looked at the rest of the stats, and good luck, man. I mean, they had a couple running backs run for like 60 yards. Logaway didn't carry the ball at all.
Amos is now a projected first rounder, by the way.
Yeah.
He's looked the part, man. He shuts down his side of the field.
All right. So
not that any quarterback on a bad wheel against our defensive front, but you want a freshman quarterback on one wheel against this defensive front?
Yeah.
Numbers just aren't there. This maybe Zach keeps getting interrupted. Go ahead, Zach.
Well, you brought the numbers. I got them right here. So Ole Miss, number 2 pass offense efficiency team in the country. Florida's in the 50s in pass defense efficiency. Rush defense for Ole Miss, 6th in efficiency. Rush offense for Florida, only 54. And then it gets real ugly. Florida third down defense, 96. Explosive plays defense, 125.
Jeez Louise.
Watkins going for 7 tutties.
Lord have mercy. I'm about to bust.
Watkins. I mean, I hope Watkins is reading that right now, thinking about just running wide open.
I mean, they're going to scheme him open. Dude.
I think, we buried the other lead, right? Where Trey Harris probably going to try to go, right?
That's what they're saying. He's listed as probable. I sent the report earlier, which I do think Kiffin's being cute with that, where he's got Jackson Dart as probable. The returns.
I think he gives it a go. I think Dart will give it a go.
Yeah, he's gonna warm up.
Yeah, Dart would. Yeah, Dart's not. Yeah. Most of looking at the probable list, it seems like everybody. Trey Harris might be the one who won't play. And at this point, it might just be they might just tell him like, "Hey, let's see how the first 20 minutes goes, and then if we don't need you, just sit over there."
Same for Dart. Like we need him in the playoffs too. We beat them with Austin Simmons at quarterback. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, Dart's our guy.
Hey,
Austin Simmons going back.
Former Florida commit, Austin Simmons.
Yeah. I mean, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you want this to be 32-6 at halftime, and then just give the ball to Austin Simmons. Now we know Kiffin's not going to do that, but yeah, I agree. All right. Let's get into locks here. Ben, you're already Ole Miss -10. You got that locked in.
Is that what the line is? I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
10?
Yeah. 10 or 10.5, whichever one you want.
You know.
Staying on theme here, I'm going to go ahead and really kick things off with a bang. And I'm going to go ahead and take Vanderbilt money line +250.
That's wild. That's
reckless.
We've been bad at money lines. This is why.
That's right. That's reckless.
Speak for yourself.
I say that
I
as
hit
the
a
guy.
money line last week, motherfucker.
We were
Yes.
0-4 last
Yeah,
week
exactly.
besides you.
Yeah.
No, I do.
Okay.
Like, you saw the uniform. We've seen the uniforms LSU's wearing, and
That's bad.
dude, I know Vandy's banged up and they're not as good as they were when they beat Bama, but this might just be for the lulz here
That would be
because
great.
LSU
They deserve
might
to lose. Yeah.
Well, you
But
saw
speaking
last
of-
week Brian Kelly's dog cussing players on the sideline. I mean, they don't give a
He's
shit
lost.
about him.
He may stick around. I mean, he's going to stick around next year. He may stick around in 26, but that's that marriage is ending. I mean, it's over
Yeah.
at some point
I
shortly.
mean, I would lie if I didn't admit that I'm doing this for the giggles here, but I really don't hate it. I mean, LSU.
Here's
I
the
mean,
thing, though. I'm not trying to change your mind on the bet, but we kind of need LSU to win. I think
We do.
need is putting it too strongly. We would like for LSU. To
I
win.
would prefer for LSU to win. Correct.
Mhm.
yeah.
I think, it'd be funny if they lost. I think Vandy's done, or if they've got one more bull in the chamber, it's being held for next weekend. I mean, right?
Tennessee.
A home game
Yeah.
versus UTK. Like, if they've got, I mean, heck, it wouldn't shock me if like Pavia was like didn't play. You know what I mean? We found out like an hour before the game he wouldn't play it.
And honestly, I might circle back and replace this with another money line because it's only plus 250.
Mm-hmm.
The line is only 7.5.
Yeah.
It went down.
I guess they like the Vandy defense, which makes me feel good about Tennessee next. I'm talking myself into it. They can't beat Tennessee.
Okay,
the
so
They
defense
can actually. They can beat Tennessee. Tennessee's one dimensional enough.
Yeah, they can
They
play
are.
keep away just like they did with everybody else.
I mean,
Yeah.
what they do against Bama? I mean, they
they
play
actually
keep away.
scored with Bama. Yeah,
They nearly beat Texas too. Like, I'm not saying that they will beat Tennessee's going to win that game, but Vandy can win it. It's not a lock for
Sure.
Tennessee.
So a serious pick. I'm going to lock in Michigan State minus 13 against Purdue.
Purdue sucks.
Purdue is bad. Purdue has scored 10 points or less in 6 of their 9 FBS games this season. Michigan State, solid. I like the quarterback. His name escaped me, Aiden Childs. I think John Smith's a great coach. They're going to be competitive. He might get them to be somewhat decent. It's at home. Yeah, Purdue sucks. So, yeah, I think Michigan State can win by 2 scores.
Michigan State needs it because the wheels have fallen off for them down the
5
stretch.
of the last 6 have been L's.
Yeah, they need one.
Purdue
This
is
a good
they're
right?
a cure for the common anything, man. They're terrible.
Yep, they are trash. All right, I mean, shit. If y'all are not going to do it, I'll do it. Missouri cannot be just 7.5 at Mississippi State.
I'm riding
that
this.
That's a
That was on my
crazy
pick.
line.
can't be. And look, this is not the. I know we're Ole Miss fans. I'm going to justify this. You ready? They have a common opponent this year that's not just like SEC. You know, they both played UMass. So I think this is interesting. Missouri went to UMass and they were laying 27.5, if you recall. You know, game of the century. UMass goes to State. State laid 18.5, right? Give State a point or so for home field that day. So we're saying Mizzou up there is 27.5. State on a neutral versus UMass is 17.5. So the number should be 10 at minimum between Mizzou and State. That's a 10-point difference.
I'm
The number
riding
should be
this.
10 at
This
minimum.
is a ridiculous line. A ridiculous line.
Yeah, what are we doing?
If Mizzou has something to play for at all, how are they only a touchdown favorite, a touchdown point? That's a wild stat.
Arkansas named their number against State. Arkansas did.
In Starkville, if Mizzou wins by less than 10, they should fall out of the college football playoff rankings. Like
They should.
No question. Yeah, absolutely.
They should shut down the football program.
I think this number is one of the worst of the year. And again, we could be dead ass wrong and look like idiots. It happens. But this has to be at least 10. So let me lay the 7.5 with Missouri.
Also,
South Carolina scored basically in the last second play. South Carolina, the media darling right now, to beat Missouri at home in Columbia. And then Missouri's falling out the next week with 7.5 point favorite against State. No way. No way.
Also, isn't it wouldn't talk about a trap game. I mean, Mississippi State's looking ahead to Ole Miss, right? Isn't their entire season trying to do some sort of spoiler next week? I mean, maybe,
as with every season of theirs, it comes down to the last week. Yeah,
I cannot imagine they're going to get hyped for Missouri. What time's this kick? Is it 3:15? I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you imagine the crowd during the hunt season. Man, it's gonna be brutal.
Yeah.
Also,
the number is insane. I don't understand it, but whatever. We'll see.
So, by the way, speaking of, I mean, we'll move on. But if you did 3 on each side, so that means Missouri would be 13-point favorites in Columbia. I mean, that's absurd to me. That's absurd. All right, I'm taking Ohio State. His defense is really, really good. That line opened at 11 or 11.5. I would have loved it down there. It's still below 14. I think they're going to suffocate Indiana. I mean, Indiana scored 20 points against Michigan 2 weeks ago. They've had a little bit of time to get ready for this game. Ohio State's had a little bit of time to watch the game film and see what Michigan, who has a lot of NFL talent on defense, but still not a very good team, held them to 20 points. I don't know what the team total is here. It's probably in the teens if I had to guess. I'd probably go under on the team total, but I'm definitely going Ohio State minus 13.5. I can see them winning this game 28-10, 28-7, something like that. I really think it's going to be low scoring on Indiana's side.
Be a nice crock pot game.
What is the team total here?
I think you nailed it with your point about Michigan last week. The first time Indiana stepped up in class on the lines of scrimmage, they got absolutely bogged down in the second half. Michigan started to kind of sit on them. I think if that game had gone one more quarter, Indiana might have lost outright.
Yeah, and there's something to be said.
Prayer drive to get it done.
Yeah,
and they're also playing. I think they had 23 transfers from JMU. Like at some point, these guys are the JMU players, right? I mean, they whipped up on coaching can only go so far. And I mean, this game's at Ohio State. If it was at Indiana, maybe a little different. It's a noon kick. I get that, but I don't know. Ohio State's got the best defense in the country according to SP Plus. I'm just going to trust it.
The Rourke kid is solid. At the end of the day, like you just said, he's from Ohio. He played for the Bobcats. Like that dude's not going into the horseshoe and beating Ohio State. Nick, the total is 51.5 across the board.
So if it's 13.5, what's that? Quick math here.
Implied. What's the total? Sorry.
Implied 50.
28 to 15 is
31-18.
What'd you
more
say?
than that?
32-19, something like that.
Yeah.
So okay, if you get team total, Indiana is it 18.5? That's an easy under to me. They're not scoring in the 20s. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's under. That's under. I think I heard this right earlier. Indiana. Okay, what is it? Ohio State is going to start 6 consensus 5 stars, and Indiana is going to start 6 players that had no ranking in high school.
Indiana has had 6 consensus 5 stars in their history. I'm positive.
That's probably right. Yeah.
Have they had one?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
They haven't beaten them since. I don't think. I mean, obviously, this doesn't matter. I don't think they've beaten them since 09.
No, one of the.
No, I'm sorry. It's a 28 game losing streak to the Buckeyes.
28 game. Yeah.
One of the.
Longer than
09, I would have remembered that. That wasn't that long ago.
It's longer than 09.
All right,
I got
one.
One of the blue chips that Indiana did have got in the portal.
Yeah.
I mean, just remember Ryder Anderson, who was like a below average player here, went there and was their best defensive player.
Yeah. And I know Ohio State lost their center this week, but I'm unaware of it. I don't think Indiana is known for great nose tackle play.
No, it's not going to matter.
All right. Kentucky plus 20.5 at Austin.
Good pick.
At Texas.
I'm tailing this. I want those two.
That's just too many points to beat Kentucky by. The game is too short. You don't have enough possessions. And I'm going to put our money where our mouth is. We talked about how Texas is mid. Kentucky should play them close. They beat us. They played Tennessee close. Now they played Georgia close. Now they did get whipped by both Vanderbilt and Florida. But I think this may be just the Kentucky way to play up against the good teams. So, and this is a clear look ahead spot for Texas. with A&M on deck next week, they're going to be trying to just get out of this. And Kentucky's got no problem slowing the game down, as we know. So
And
20.5 is too many points.
Isn't A&M, isn't that a short week for Texas too?
Is
Is
it?
it Thursday or
It's
Saturday?
Friday night. It's Thursday night. No. It's
It's Thursday night. That's why we got moved to Friday, isn't it?
I know it's Friday night. I think.
Okay. So
We
it's
play
short week.
Thanksgiving. Nobody.
Let's see.
The NFL.
Texas A&M.
But Ben, your point about the number, to me, sometimes the number talks.
It's Saturday.
They could have made Texas 21 and taken pretty even action on that, but they're refusing to give you the hook there.
Yeah.
I think that's noteworthy that they're not giving you the 21.
Oh, Ben. Thursday. All alone. 6:30. Memphis at Tulane.
Good
hell yeah.
Lord.
Take the green wave.
Speaking of, I agreed. Speaking of Kentucky, like I said, I want to tell this. Other than their beat down when they lost to Florida, I don't really know. It looked like they had quit, and then they came back. They've lost their SEC games by 1, 7, 14, 10. And 25 in that weird game, I guess, early to South Carolina. But the point is, they had 6 games. They lost 2 of them by more than this score. And they were against like not very good teams. They're going to slow the ball down. I've said this on the last podcast. They play the same game every time. Most games they don't make the win and play like they did against us. They did it against us, obviously. I think they're going to do the same thing. This game's 10 points in the fourth quarter. They're not. It's not going to be a beatdown.
I like it. I got one. Army, Notre Dame. We're going to look at the total here. This is not a traditional service. I'm going over 44.5. I did not listen to Nick earlier this year when he told me that Notre Dame was going to roll over Navy because they had better athletes. They did. They rolled over Navy because they had better athletes. I think they're going to do the same thing to Army here. Maybe Army keeps it a little closer, but I don't think they can stop Notre Dame over the course of 4 quarters. Notre Dame gets in the 30s here, I think, pretty comfortably. I don't need much from Army at that point, over 44.5. I think it's 38-17.
This is preaching to the choir. Oh, like you're 100% right. Just Army's going to be they're going to be outclassed. I'm going tail on that too. It's just 44 flat.
Yep. Oh, 44 flat.
Is that what it is? I
see a hook. I got a hook. I got 44.5, but I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine with me.
Trying to be slick over there, Nick.
Sorry about that. It's not going to matter. Notre Dame's going to darn near cover it themselves.
I've got another one. I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going to take Colorado +3 at Kansas.
Minus, right?
Is it -3? Sorry.
Yeah,
-3. Kansas is coming off an emotional win at BYU where they knocked them out of the playoff. Colorado still has an outside chance of making the playoff, especially if they win the Big 12, and they're 8-2 with a lot to play for. And I think this is just a letdown spot. Kansas coming back from BYU. Like I said, after that emotional win, Colorado's got a lot, to still play for. Kansas does too, really. They could still make a bowl game. They're 4-6, but I think there's too much talent on Colorado's team, talent as in Shador and Travis Hunter, that will carry them over Kansas.
And keep in mind, this is not in Lawrence. It's at Arrowhead, where they've played a lot of their home games this year. So this is a pretty neutral environment.
It'll probably be 50-50 crowd.
I bet it's majority Colorado, frankly.
It might be. It's not all that far from the state of Colorado. I mean, they're neighboring states.
And just the bandwagon of Colorado fans, Deion fans living in Kansas City.
Yeah. Because I'm sure tickets going to be like $15, $15 to go watch the potential Heisman Trophy winner and Shador first round pick.
Yeah, number 1 overall pick. That's right.
All right, I'm going. I got a 2-pack here. I'm going against you, Ben. I think Jalen Daniels is going to give Colorado's defense some issues. He looks a lot better than he did in the beginning of the year when he was just turning the ball over like crazy. I don't know. I kind of feel like this is a spot where Kansas can get up for this one because it's Colorado, like you just said, Heisman Trophy candidate, first round picks. It's at Arrowhead. I think it's got a weird vibe to it. The money line's not good enough to pick, so I'm going to just take Kansas to cover. I think this might be really, really close late, and maybe Colorado drives down and gets it done with a field goal, or maybe Shador throws a pick and Kansas pulls off the upset. I don't know. Colorado's played with fire a lot this year. They got outclassed by Kansas State. I thought that the coaching matchup there was too much for Dion, and I think in this one too, with our boy up in Lawrence, I think that he'll have a game plan ready. I don't know, get just the Arrowhead a lot. All of a sudden, there's a lot of pressure on Colorado now.
That's true.
I think Dion he likes all the attention, but when it's like, cute, 4-6 Colorado, like there's not a lot of pressure. Let's see how they handle it. This is just kind of a vibes pick here. This is not a vibes pick. I'm going Nebraska -2.5. Really gross game, but I think with the coordinator change at Wisconsin, I have no clue who's calling plays, but I'm going to take the better quarterback at home. I think Nebraska's defense is good enough to hold Wisconsin down, and the line's only 2.5, so you're basically just picking a winner. I think Nebraska wins.
Man, that game. Good luck. That's a coin.
Don't watch it.
Two disappointing teams limping to the finish.
This is another game you should not watch.
Dana Holgerson's got the sticks now.
Yeah. I don't know if that's good or bad though.
Right.
Nebraska.
Depends on if he's still doing sugar-free Red Bull or just regular.
Bad day to be an RBG in Lincoln.
All right, I'm going to take Tennessee is playing UTEP. Let me make sure that I can still get this number. I should have double-checked this before I started.
Hey, where's Tennessee ranked, Nick, in the playoff bowl, by the way?
Are they top 25 still?
Are they?
Okay, I think so. They're 12th, right? That was big. I did not expect that.
Yeah.
I did not expect that. Well, Tennessee's Super Bowl is Saturday.
How'd their defense do last week? I heard a lot about how good their defense was.
Yeah, that offense is real good too. Their Super Bowl will take place Saturday, about 400 miles south of Knoxville, though.
It will.
They're -41 or 41.5. It doesn't matter. It's below the key number of 42. Key number of 42. It's below the number is divisible by 7. UTEP's allowed 200 yards 5 times on the ground this year. Tennessee, when they are against overmatched teams, whips them. I mean, we remember what they did against UT Chattanooga in that famous 69-3 game to start the season. Then I'm dead serious when I mean this, actually. They rode that 51-10 win over NC State for like 6 weeks. That was all they had on the resume.
They lost to Georgia.
Exactly. They whipped NC State. Didn't Wake Forest beat NC State like a couple weeks after that game? And Wake Forest is not in.
Yeah, I think so.
So, my point is, like, congrats, I guess, on beating NC State and Charlotte. But they just destroy teams that they're better than. UTEP is 2-8. They gave up a ton of yards on the ground. Tennessee is going to think in their head, hey, we need to beat them by 1,000 to impress the committee. So they're going to try and do that. This one's going to be like 56-3. They're just going to put a whipping on UTEP. They're taking it all. Everything you saw on Twitter this week that they were saying to Ole Miss fans is all going to UTEP football this weekend.
God.
Also, how many people in Neyland Stadium are going to have the Ole Miss Florida game up on their phone while they're watching this game?
And in Starkville.
Go ahead.
He said Neyland Stadium and in Davis Wade.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to draw a number this week. Tennessee's fan base, state.
They might put it on the video board in Neyland.
Tennessee's going to try to – I mean, Ward Manuel basically said style points matter. So they've got every incentive to run the score up, and win 77-0.
And 41 is like not that big of a number. It's not like UTEP's like, oh, they're 5-5, they're kind of spunky. They're 2-8 in the freaking
They're bad.
whatever
Yeah, they're one of the
Mountain West or whatever they are.
They're in CUSA.
CUSA, aren't they? Yeah,
they're CUSA. CUSA. All right, so I've got another wishful money line in the spirit of that. I did it last week. Going to do it again this week. Golden Gophers. I think plus 385 at home against Penn State. And listen, I know that Penn State is also in the Big Ten in the North. It ain't Minneapolis. Right now in Minneapolis, it is 27 degrees. And
I bet it's going to be colder Saturday.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be freezing. And, the only thing that would be better is if it were snowing. But
row that sled, Minnesota. I want give me the points. I'll take the 11.5. I'm a pussy, unlike Ben. I'm not gonna do the money line, but give me the 11.5.
That's a lot of points for Penn State to win by anyway. That's not how they win.
No, the line was bigger than I thought. I thought it'd be 8.5. I really did. Penn
State wins by 7 and 8. They win 27-20. They don't win. Also, I want to do another one on this game under 45.5.
Feels right. Fair. Yeah, I mean, Penn State's offense has not been explosive this year against teams with a pulse, and I expect Minnesota to play a little keep away and try to grind one out. Yeah, I think
27-17 is 44. Mm-hmm. That feels like a lot of points for this game.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
That's 6 touchdowns in 32 degrees, 28 degrees. I don't see
this game.
It's 2:30.
2:30.
Oh, sunset's
at dark.
4:05. That's not even really an exaggeration.
It will be freezing in the second half, literally, like hot chocolate and whiskey cold.
I got another 2 for
4:38 is the sunset.
Okay.
So by
halftime.
Yeah.
Texas A&M on the road. Auburn is not ready. They're not even remotely dialed into this game at all. I think A&M wins. It's only 2.5. I think Auburn's looking ahead to Alabama.
It's a small number.
Spoiling that party. And it's only 2.5. So I think Texas A&M at the line of scrimmage is going to be better. I think Marcel Reed will make some plays, and I don't know. I still think Auburn is just not very good. They're not going to score. Give me the Aggies, and then I know maybe you could say it's a look ahead spot for A&M too, but I think A&M's just better, and it won't really matter.
You need this line to be like 6.
Auburn's season is over. Auburn's season is done. They only care about beating Alabama and ruining their season. A&M at least has something to play for. What are they, 15 right now? So they got to keep pace.
Yeah. I mean, 2 wins and they have a good shot to make.
Austin's doing a lot of face movements.
We're going head to head here. Give me Auburn money line 6:30. Jordan Hare. I agree with what Nick said last week. You're right, Zach. Like I don't think Hugh, and again, it's dangerous to try to psychoanalyze Hugh Freeze, but I don't think Hugh can reasonably expect to beat Alabama at Alabama next week. I just don't think that's on the table. If you want a signature win, it's this week, or he has none. He has none this year. Like he hasn't beaten anybody.
And they finished 4-8, right?
Yeah.
Aren't they 4-6? So
that's
a big difference. 4-8, 5-7.
It's a good point. I just Auburn's quarterback play is so bad, and I just think that A&M's front seven is going to get after it. But that's a good point with maybe they're going to – it's kind of like Florida. Florida knows it can beat Florida State.
Right.
I think deep down Florida knows it can't beat Ole Miss. So
all right. So if we take out that second half against LSU, what has A&M done this year to tell us that they're going to go to Jordan Hare at 6:30? And I'm not playing devil's advocate against you, Zach. I'm just saying in general, go play a night game in Jordan Hare and win.
The eye test of that defense, and I just trust Elko.
I mean, South
Yeah,
Carolina
he's
just
the coach.
blew them out.
They
I'm
beat the
not talking
brakes off of
about
them.
like they beat the brakes off of A&M. Maybe
Wait, who did?
South Carolina did.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what was that, like 44-20?
And that was like the literal perfect storm, like the perfect sandstorm, where I mean, South Carolina just hit all the right notes. Like that's been big for South Carolina. Like Rocket Sanders has gotten healthy at the perfect time.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
one game I forgot about this too. They did blow out Missouri.
I was going to say they destroyed Missouri, made them look like a MAC team.
My worry with Auburn here is, like, first of all, we've heard all week about how it's a trap game for Texas A&M. So, like, if you hear it a lot, then A&M, I think their ears perk up. When they saw the number, it being 2.5, I think it told us a little bit about what they expected from the game. But I worry that Auburn, they are really, really lethal at figuring out how to lose games. And at 2.5, I don't. That's a small margin for covering there. That's why I think A&M could just beat them 17-14 because Auburn's just great at losing football games.
And again, if we're talking about a 23rd ranked A&M, I would have a different tune. But they're at least still like on the peripheral, like they're hanging around.
And I think they're right in the mix. With 2 more wins, they're in.
Yeah. Like if you do this 1-2 punch and beat Texas and Auburn, like you're in. But the other part of that too for Boston College plus 2.5 at home against North Carolina. Mac Brown announced he's not retiring. Like, who gives a shit? They're terrible.
A lot of eyeballs in this game.
Hey, y'all, I'm coming back next year. Go Heels.
As I said earlier, Mac was they called him in the office and so Mac, what do you want to do? Well, I reckon I'm gonna keep taking that paycheck. So I'll see you on Monday.
But y'all say that the dude tried to quit mid-season this year. Yeah, he's like, fuck it, let's do it again.
Yeah,
like,
if y'all want to fire me, just go ahead and fire me.
Like, did he ask I thought he asked the players at like halftime if they wanted to keep coaching or something.
That's what I'm saying. And
he's kind of got some Joe Biden vibes for
it's like a straw poll.
Now he's wanting to re-up.
All right, raise your hand if you want me to stay. Boston. Hey, I was going to say Boston College has been good at home. Grayson James at quarterback.
He looked decent. He was decent last week.
Home win over Syracuse a couple weeks ago, and then massive road dog at SMU, and they played solid. They played okay. Yeah. Bill O'Brien's a good coach, and the Castellanos thing was weird. So I think another week with this guy under center in practice, they'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But like Nick said, a lot of eyeballs on this game.
Big time. I'm going to keep it in the state of Alabama, by the way. Actually, just with teams. They're actually playing in Oklahoma. Bama is – can anybody give me the updated line? I just want to make sure I have it right here.
I see 13.5.
It's small.
It's what?
I see 13.5.
13 it's 13.5. And can I get a 14 or just 13.5?
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah, I just see 13.5. Yeah, it's minus 114. I'm going to do 13.5. I don't know if y'all think the line's small. You guys have been on Oklahoma all year for some reason, and I thought they're trash. I don't think they're any good at all. But if they want to skin in their first season in the SEC, and as weak as Texas' schedule has been, they made them. There was a thing coming into the season. Every team not playing Texas was playing Oklahoma. Well, you can do that math. If Texas' schedule's weak, Oklahoma's schedule has been brutal, and they finished by hosting Alabama and going to LSU. That game kicks off at midnight, so it's going to be hostile, right? If they want to skin, this is the game they're going to do it. I mean, maybe they beat LSU next week, but getting Bama this week, the Alabama offense is pretty good, but it bogged down a little bit at Tennessee. The Oklahoma defense is pretty good. Allow less than 3 yards a carry. Do what?
You're taking Oklahoma?
I'm taking Oklahoma plus 13.5. I think it's going to be low scoring. Who is Bama to be laying 2 touchdowns on the road? I mean, they're a pretty good football team, but you can talk about next week. They're hosting Auburn with a chance to
my friend. I think Oklahoma may win.
You guys have been on Oklahoma all year.
Let's go.
Terrible.
I'm not
with it this week. I'm with it.
Inshallah.
Y'all need me to run you through the injury report that came out today?
Yeah.
No, actually, no, because I might change.
Zach, don't talk us off this high. Don't talk us off this
Yeah,
high.
let Bama do it for us.
Okay.
I don't need that.
Wow, what are you looking at? It can't be any worse than they've been all year. They've been banged up all year.
So they've
I
got
was gonna say what? Yeah, what happened? A bomb went off. Like
three offensive linemen are out. One's questionable. 3 wide receivers are out. 2 DBs are out.
that the wide receivers been out.
Deion Burke's the best wide receiver, is doubtful. Running back Javonte Barnes is questionable. And again, I don't know like these names. I know some of them are starters.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know, man. I feel like Alabama's kind of peaking at the right time a little bit. And
I just think that's probably the same injury report. Like that's just copy pasted from all season long. You know what I mean? Like they've had receivers out all year, and they've been bad all year. So I don't know what I'm thinking.
For the sake of the show, I hope y'all are right. But
what about Bama's injury report, Zach? How are they looking? Are they healthy?
Only person worth a fuck is Keon Sabb. He's out. The rest, the other 2 guys, one of them's Cole Adams, wide receiver. That is 1,000% a white guy. And Quindarius Robinson, linebacker, out. That's it. Now I'm going to double check.
I think Jackson Arnold, they're significantly better now that he's settled.
Yeah. They should have just stayed with him. They should have just stayed with Arnold. It was stupid as hell to pull him. That's why they are where they are. And injuries.
What a bummer. Cole Adams is white, and he's from Owasso, Oklahoma.
So Arnold is
get to play.
pretty fast.
Yeah.
Like I think he's like a better version of the guy at South Carolina, Sellers. Like a Sellers who can pass. I mean, he ran the ball well against us. Arnold did.
He's fast.
Probably the most successful quarterback runner we played this year.
Dude, people were saying like I heard people in the preseason that have really good podcasts that he's better than Jackson Dart.
Woo.
Experts.
No, that's a take.
Many people are saying it.
Speaking of good running quarterbacks, I know it's really like a one-trick pony, but Jalen Milroe, a one-trick pony, that dude's a fucking horse.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's nuts. Like
he's absolute X factor.
Dude is insane.
Yeah.
But look, if you can bottle him up, and it's really hard, it's easier said than done. Obviously, if you can bottle him up, though, that offense can stagnate.
Oh yeah. All right.
And it's a night game at what do they call that place? The Palace, Nick. It has like some new
Oklahoma.
Yeah, like the new sponsor, and I think they call it the Palace now.
No, it's always been like the Palace of the Heartland or something.
Oh, okay.
That's not really a name befitting Oklahoma State. It should be like the Wagon.
I think it's a little bit.
The Gaylord family.
The Palace on the Prairie. I think it's a little bit like the loveliest village on the plains. It's a little tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
Palace on the Prairie.
or Stark Vegas.
Palace on the Prairie, yeah, or Stark Vegas.
They've got like Palace on the Field now, which I don't watch a lot.
They should call it like the Ox Cart or something. Like not
the Wagon Wheel.
Shout out Derek.
The Dysentery Bowl. Okay, I have I've got one here. FAU fired Tom Herman last week, and they play Charlotte Saturday, and just for they
also fired their coach.
Yeah, I know.
R.I.P. Biff.
Just for the sake of it, though, I'm going to take Charlotte and lay 2.5 at FAU. FAU doesn't have any of their players left. Their quarterback's out, their running back's out, their best receivers out, their best defensive linemen's out, and their best linebackers out. So Charlotte minus 2.5. Yeah, it's a sick bet.
How many games could there possibly be a year where both coaches were fired that week? Gotta be the only one, right? Incredible pull, man. Incredible pull.
Did y'all see the defensive coordinator? I think he's the interim, or maybe he's just coming back to coach defense. But Tom Herman fired him this season, and then after Tom Herman was fired, and I guess they brought it back, he tweeted like a graphic that said, "I'm back."
That's sick.
He fired him 2 weeks ago, trying to save his job.
How the turntables?
Screw this guy.
After COVID, we thought if Kiffin left after 2 years, we'd be hiring Tom Herman. Here he is, can't even win at FAU.
Yeah,
your boy said, "Call the ambulance," but not for me.
The shine is off that star for sure.
Oh man,
Yeah,
Wait,
he's
you
come
ask
a
about two
long-
coaches fired, Nick. Who did Temple play last week? Oh, Temple played FAU last week.
Temple
So
fired.
Temple fired their coach after beating FAU. They fired their coach.
Who are they gonna hire?
That's when FAU was
What
like, we got to fire him.
Exactly. Like, dude, you can't abide that. Like, what are Temple's expectations? You win a game.
What do you have to do
fire
at
your
Temple to
coach?
keep your job? Like, you
What-
just won a game.
What if Temple just doesn't hire a head coach and just lets all the assistants run it and they just put all that money into NIL?
Dude, there was somebody like some editor. Y'all probably saw this on the Cover 3 recap. Like, they're calling now for their football program to be disbanded. Like, they're now like serious calls for them to just fold up
I
shop.
mean, they really actually kind of should, man. They don't have it on campus. I'm a big if you're playing at some other team's NFL stadium at Pitt Panthers, like that's ridiculous. Get a stadium and grow up. You know what I mean? Like this is 2024,
right.
Yeah.
and Temple is playing where the Eagles play.
The
They're
link.
not the Pitt Panthers, man. There's 800 people at each game.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that truly is one of the most useless programs in the country. The Temple Owls play basketball.
Can't believe they play football.
I know. I'm
Meanwhile,
with
like
you.
Iowa doesn't have a baseball team, or somebody, whoever it is,
Well,
Nebraska.
Why is Temple
Not
playing
Nebraska.
FBS and Villanova's not?
Nebraska,
Like,
Nebraska plays in Omaha
They do, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
with Creighton.
with Creighton.
Yeah, grow up, Peter Pan.
that's seriously Count Chocula.
Thanks a lot, Matt Rule, you asshole.
All right, last one for me.
Ben's loading up, baby.
I am. I like the card this week. All right, I'm going to go to Durham and take Duke plus 3.5 against Virginia Tech.
Jesus.
I've gone against Duke a couple times this year, thinking that they're overrated, and they burn me every time. They lost by 1 point to SMU. They did get smoked against Miami, and they lost by 10 to I can't remember who it was earlier in the year. They're 7-3. Virginia Tech needs the win. They do. But I am. This is a payback for Duke to me or by me because they burned me so much. So I wanted to take Virginia Tech. My heart told me to take Virginia Tech, and so I'm going against it and going to take Duke.
Man, you got some
What's the number?
I don't mind.
gross.
3.5.
I mean, I think they're good picks, but man, they're disgusting football content.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
I know. I just picked Charlotte and then Duke. I know it's late and I'm tired, and my kid's going through like a sleep regression or something. So we were watching
Oof.
Coco Melon at 5:30 this morning.
Oof.
Hell yeah.
God.
I may
T's
be
and
tapped
P's.
except for money lines. Ben, you said you like the card. I do not like the card.
But you
Also,
only
you
have
have
two?
picks.
I gotta have more than two. I've got Notre Dame.
Well, you were
over.
on Ole
I've
Miss,
got-
weren't you?
No, I didn't like it. I don't want to jinx it.
Missouri
I got you at Missouri at Army and Notre Dame.
and Auburn money line.
Yeah, I
and
got Auburn
Auburn.
money line. All right, well then let me throw out at least one. No, I got Minnesota plus 11.5.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Somebody just wrote over one of mine.
Oh, I got one more. Man, these numbers have moved. I was really disappointed with the BYU Arizona State number. I was hoping we would get Arizona State as a dog. Instead, they open -3. I can't lay the 3 with them. Although I do think they probably win. Give me this. This is great. Stanford Cal game, 14. No, Stanford plus 14. Like Stanford just beat Louisville. Who the hell is Cal to lay 14?
Well, it's
They lost.
Stanford's quarterback's back.
I don't. Yeah, Cal lost outright last week as a 10-point favorite at home to Syracuse.
Yeah. Austin, you just said it. I'm gonna completely flip it. I am taking the Sun Devils. They're 8-2.
Yeah,
Dillingham's got that thing going, and BYU just lost. Their season is done.
well, they can still win the Big 12, though, right? I mean, that's the.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to swallow after last week, and it's in the desert at the mountain. It's 2:30, but I don't know, man. I think Arizona State's just actually kind of good.
No, I think they're decent. Dillingham's done a really good job. I was just hoping to see Arizona State with a plus beside their name, and that was going to go hammer time on that. But I think you're probably on the right side. I was just hoping for something different.
Can I tell you guys, not a number I'm taking while you guys are looking, but this is going to seem crazy. Wake Forest is plus 1,300 at Miami. They're not beating Miami. I don't think they're very good. But Miami just lost to Georgia Tech. I understand their backs are against the wall. But plus 1,300, that's a really big number for a Miami team that has been extremely mediocre like 5 times, is all I'm saying. I wouldn't take it in real life. If you're going to take it with like a quarter unit. If you typically bet $20, put $5 on it. But, I mean, you get 13-1.
13-1 because Vegas knows the refs are in on this shit.
Possibly. But I mean, Miami, there's only the refs can only do so much, right? If they do another stinker like that against Virginia Tech, maybe they lose. Maybe the ball bounces the wrong way. Again, don't think it's going to happen, but $5 wins 65 on that bet, right? That's pretty decent.
Who does Miami have next week? They've got Syracuse. I was hoping for a little look ahead there, but
you don't have it. They're going to win the final 2 games, but it's a thought.
I feel like I'm going to get real gross here. I'm going to go South Alabama minus 21.5.
Yes. Southern is dead.
How many games have they lost in a row? 7, 8, 9, something like that?
They're a corpse.
Dude, you talk about closing up shop on a football program.
They can't even get a coach. They're out here, they're trying to interview offensive line coaches, and they're turning them down.
I mean, didn't South Alabama score like 80 on somebody this year?
Will Hall's going to be an analyst at Ole Miss next year.
Rick Cleveland will find a way to make a poetic fucking article out of it, though, I assure you.
The big three, baby.
The big 3.
The quarterback at South Alabama, Gio Lopez, I think he's a dude. They're going to just have fun.
The big 3 is their NIL budget.
Also, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Michigan at home, only 10.5. I'm laying that.
Yeah, okay. You talk about look.
It's so bad.
All right, hear me out. Michigan sucks.
Ugly.
Michigan sucks. B, who does Michigan have on deck?
Actually, you know what? Let me look. Hold on. Let me look at it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Northwestern money line plus 360.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going for.
I was trying to find another money line, and I can't find one, but here we are. All right. I mean, has Northwestern done anything resembling a pulse this year at all?
Yeah, they played Duke pretty close at one point this year, and
no,
they didn't get absolutely skull drugged by Ohio State, did they? I think they covered.
I think you're right.
I think you're right. It was at one point was within.
They got beat 31-7.
They covered.
Okay, might have covered. I think
the
line was
they did cover. They covered.
I think the line was
right now.
Right now,
I've got
36.5. Oh my God, 36.5. Why would you even go to the stadium?
I know none of us can name Northwestern starting quarterback, but I know this. He's better than Michigan's starting quarterback.
Isn't it Mike Wright?
Is it?
Wait, really?
Vandy? The dude must be smart. Transferring from Vandy to Northwestern? Jeez.
He was smart to just transfer away from state.
All those credits transferred. Man, talk about the three institutions right there of higher learning. Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Northwestern. Which degree is the best?
They have a lot in common.
The Mississippi Institute of Technology, MIT.
Oh no, it's not. It's not Mike Wright. Jake Lausch.
I bet he's better than Michigan's quarterback. I don't have to see a single stat.
Jake Lausch threw for 200 yards against Ohio State.
There you go.
Stud.
All right, so I've got Vandy. I got Vandy Northwestern as money line picks. I need to find another nerd group to.
I'm going to add to that. I'm going to give you Stanford plus 450.
Yep.
450 is crazy in the big game. Also, again, don't do this, But if you wanted Kentucky, they're plus 1050. If you wanted them, $10 wins
That would be
105.
that would be the fucking funniest thing of all time.
And I mean,
Kentucky slays Texas and Ole Miss in the same season.
They're 2-6, and they beat two top 5 teams at the time.
All right, so I'm going all academia, baby. Stanford plus 450, Vandy plus 250, Northwestern plus 360. Let's make some money.
And then
right.
Austin got Auburn, so we all got academic institutions. All right, I think
I'll add to it. I'll add to it with a money line for an academic institution. UVA plus 266 against SMU this week.
Oh, the Mannings
SMU
is
UVA has burned me too much.
They're not exactly struggling SMU to the finish line here, but like they're not peaking either. Last week, Boston College gave them all they wanted in Dallas. Now they travel over to UVA, who has been competent. They backdoored a cover last week against Notre Dame. I don't know. 266 just seems a little rich.
I got 280 for you.
I'll take that. That's even better.
All right. Ben, are you really done? Or Austin, you done? You got 3 and then the 2 money lines?
I feel like I was subtracting picks every time I say one.
Okay, Missouri.
There were some that were subtracted from my list, so you're going to have to go back and listen. I'm not kidding. I had to add some picks back on here.
All right, I'm going to add one more. They burned me last week.
So, Austin, I got you Missouri, Army, Navy, or Army Notre Dame over Stanford plus 14.
Minnesota plus 11.
Penn State under. Oh, you wanted Minnesota minus? Okay, my fault.
Yeah, plus 11.5. I'll take one more here. Give me Jacksonville State
money line. Oh yeah,
Jacksonville State minus 6 against Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State was laying 21 last week against a team who just fired their first and only coach they've ever had and had to win in overtime. I think, right? Yeah. What a absolutely awful effort from Sam Houston State. This is revenge for me betting on them last week. I'm taking Jacksonville State minus 6.
Oh man,
I tell you, our game I want to pick. I'm not going to do it. Is Wyoming money line?
Fordham and Merrimack.
Wyoming what?
Money line against Boise plus 1100. It's 1100 in Laramie.
It's in Laramie.
Yeah,
Paradise.
Ooh,
but
number.
But Wyoming is 2-8.
The Wyoming sucks.
They're bad.
Craig
If
Bowles
this was spunky Wyoming, I would do it. But
yeah,
if Bowl was still there, yeah. But
1100 though, that's a big. I mean, $5 gets you 200 or 110 or whatever. 105.
What's the weather going to be like in Laramie? Let's see.
Do you have an idea how big that number is? Mississippi State's only plus 240. I talk about a number you should never. You should bet Missouri minus 265 is what you should do.
State is only plus 240.
Plus 240. They see something we don't see, man.
There's somebody's got something in the locker room saying that there's somebody not playing.
Yeah, Cook may have hurt himself again or something, but I don't care. Play Drew Pine.
Have y'all seen State tackle? They can't tackle. Like I've said it all year. They can't tackle. Just watch their it's unbelievable. It's the most if I was a State fan, I would literally want to kill them all. Like it's the most frustrating thing you could ever watch. They can't tackle. Tackling is effort.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Mizzou's not bad on defense either. Like they're not bad on defense. Like I don't think State's gonna score much on Mizzou.
Oh man, the Van Buren show, baby.
MVP.
Martin Van Buren's great grandson.
It really sucks that the Patriot League doesn't release lines until like Saturday morning.
Yeah, all FCS comes out late.
Because I would lay whatever Merrimack's getting on Fordham.
Right, do you have like a tip here or something? Like, what do you got inside info?
No, it was like it's been like a bit all year with like Bears bets on their show where they fade Fordham all year because early in the year, Fordham was like double-digit favorites multiple times and lost outright. And they're like 2-9, I think. I mean, they're bad. And I mean, Merrimack's not good. They're 4-6.
Yeah.
But apparently the Rams are just Denzel's not putting any NIL into that program.
It's sicko stuff, man. But like, if you ever watch FCS lines on Saturday morning, they will move like a touchdown at a time. It's crazy. Like a line will open -3, and within like 10 minutes, it'll be like -12. It's completely unlike power.
Somebody's making a
football.
bunch of money on those.
Absolutely. You talk about inside info, like those games, those numbers are crazy. That market is liquid as hell.
We need to start having conference calls Saturday morning.
It's like, let's be like betting high school football games.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Tommy's girlfriend broke up with him this week. I don't like it.
I think I probably should admit this on the show. At one point, I do know that there were lines for high school football games though in the state championship that you could. They were not sharp. I'll just tell you that.
I was just about to say
in Mississippi, yes.
Oh my God!
On my book, I wouldn't bet on them, of course.
There are people out there who absolutely bet on high school football.
Yes,
I know people who bet on high school football.
Jesus, what is wrong with people?
Nick's not even laughing. He's like, "What?"
Yeah, no, for sure. There are people, but in previous lives who have bet on high school football.
I wonder what the money line was for Germantown Clarksville a couple weeks ago. Germantown pulled off the upset. Clarksville was 10-0. All right.
It's a long ways for a football game. We're talking Clarksville, Tennessee?
Yep.
Like Oxford going to Madison or something. Oxford going to freaking.
Oxford's going to be Madison Central's district next year.
That's going to be brittle.
Oh, buddy.
Dude, that reshuffling of the deck really screwed Oxford.
Yeah.
Hey, just wait till Knox gets there, baby.
I unironically can't wait to see that if he like plays and is good, and I don't know, that'd be kind of cool.
Knox -3 against Madison Central.
he's got to start eating. But I've seen him throw like he's not bad.
Yeah.
He's good.
It's funny. He probably eats like 3,800 calories a day. You know what I mean? He's just like growing so fast. Like when you're 15 years old, your body can't keep up.
He walks around like a baby deer. I think he's already like 6 foot.
Smashing cheeseburgers.
All right. Man, we really did hammer a bunch of nerds this week. So the money lines, we got Auburn, UVA, Minnesota, Stanford, Vandy, and Northwestern. I'll run through the picks since we don't have a ton this week. Missouri -7.5, Army, Notre Dame over 44.5, Stanford +14, Minnesota +11.5, Jacksonville State -6, Ole Miss -10, Kentucky +20.5, Colorado -2.5, Charlotte -2.5, Duke +3.5, Minnesota Penn State under 45.5. We've got Ohio State -13.5, Tennessee -41.5, Michigan State -13, Nebraska -2.5, Kansas +3, A&M -2.5, BC +2.5, Arizona State -3, South Alabama -21.5. So, didn't say this top of the show last week. 13-7, 178 and 121 on the year against the spread. Nick hasn't updated the units yet, so I don't know if he can do it right now, but a couple weeks ago we were up 12.89, so still doing all right.
Wait, do the record again. I'm trying to figure out the percentage. What is it? 178 and what?
121. It's like 60%.
It's right at 59.4, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It
seems good.
Yeah, that's well above money making number.
Yeah. Like I said, we should charge for our picks.
Yeah, the money line stuff. For the record, again, if you're betting the money lines,
don't bet on
like quarter unit. Just have
be selective.
Yeah, that's not a serious pick, but our point spreads are.
But back when we were winning money lines, they were serious.
Those were serious. Yeah, those were real. Yeah.
And then a couple weeks
ago,
we switched.
Right. If these win this week, they are for real.
Yeah. Like if Northwestern actually wins, we were serious.
Yeah.
when we were serious.
Hey,
Dead
when
serious.
Minnesota wins,
Hey,
Hey, if
just
Minnesota
so you know about
wins,
the weather, right now in Happy Valley, it's 45. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
25 in Minneapolis. These are two different places.
We are not the same.
we're not the same.
Minnesota kids were born in it. They were like, that is north of the wall. White Water.
It is.
north of the wall. Yeah,
Oh God, the high Saturday is 37. That's crazy.
Oh, you know they're warming up shirtless. The Minnesota offensive linemen
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
have to.
No kidding. I bet most of those guys also play hockey over Christmas break. You know what I'm saying? They go home instead of playing pickup basketball, they're literally playing pickup hockey games.
They're playing pickup hockey on the pond outside.
No, exactly right.
Their buddy has a pond. They go over and hang out. We would used to play we would play basketball or something. They go over and hang out. It's like you want to lace them up,
Yeah.
Let's get the boys out.
And then they go kill an elk.
knock some sticks.
Go ice fishing.
Drink some Labatt Blue.
Yeah.
Get a couple donors.
Little Verners.
And some poutine.
Burners.
Fries and gravy.
Bring the Verners. My guts are burning. All right. That'll do it. Week 13. Ole Miss, Florida, Saturday morning, 11 a.m. I'll be hosting a birthday party for a 3-year-old during this game. That should tell you how serious I'm taking the Gators. I'm with everybody. I think this is a big win for Ole Miss and just another step forward to getting into the playoff. We'll have tons of coverage leading up to it. We'll have all of our picks come out. We'll have this show and more recruiting coverage, as there are some recruits that will be in Gainesville for the Florida game that are a little bit Ole Miss adjacent. We'll have that and more. Gentlemen, we got anything else before we get out of here?
Nothing for me.
Well, I can't wait for the coronation next Friday. I'm gonna say that.
You think there's going to be conversation at the 50-yard line before the Egg Bowl?
Between teams?
No,
between the head
coaches.
Oh gosh.
Lane will definitely go out there and say something about
Levy's weight.
Yeah.
Or
I think Lane will be complimentary. Probably be like, hey, man, you doing the hot yoga? They got a Hot Works in Starkville?
He'll do a lot of thumbs up on Twitter that week. I guarantee it. He loves a good thumbs up on Twitter.
He might ask him, do they not sell razors in Starkville?
Also, if you're an Ole Miss fan and you see me and you say something like, well, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we beat Florida and the state came in and whooped us. Please don't. Just save your breath.
Delete my number if that's you.
No shot.
It's already been said to me several times. That's a
Oh, that'd be Ole Miss. I guess if you're going to do the We Are Ole Miss thing, that would be losing to Florida. That we can't. We can't lose the state.
We played the two worst defenses in the league these next 2 weeks. We all need to do.
Look, hey, Hail State, boy, we gonna get you. All right, we're all meeting at Nick's tent. State. SCHTUYTE.
State.
Hey, don't make me take this Drake vest off, boy.
Dude, that's their NIL deal. They have missed a golden fucking opportunity. Drake vest?
They can't do it now after Kendrick killed him over the summer. I mean,
that's true.
All right. Appreciate everybody. College Corner, Drew Moak, USA Benefits Group, Homefield Apparel, Rowback. Again, homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code LastDance24. You get 15% off. Get you a coach's jacket. I got one, and it is slick. They also got the campus pullovers, and then rowback.com. They don't have Ole Miss stuff yet. They're getting it next football season, but they've got some Mississippi themed stuff. They got some blue, some powder blue, some red. Use promo code JUICE. You get 20% off. They got good stuff there. We'll be back next week. We'll figure out the timetable with the holiday and stuff, but we'll get y'all a show. So until then, for Nick, for Ben, for Austin, I'm Zach. This has been Hit That Line. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We out of here.